Greetings, great things. Welcome back to Black Swan Theory. It is Q Talks here once again. And today's topic is going to be interesting and some may even say contradictory to the previous episode. But episode 5 is going to be all about the fact that a body is not a personality. And I believe that your looks should not define you wholly. So, as always, I have my notes that I'll be referring to. But because I do want to keep this episode kind of natural and not too long as well, I will not just go off the notes. Sometimes I'll just go off my head as well. So, we live in a world, right, where people confuse aesthetics with identity. Your body is your vessel, so your body is not the full story. And the reason we live, especially now, in a time where people take things at such face value and surface value, a lot of this is due to, as we know, social media, right? It has changed the way we perceive the world. It has changed the way we perceive one another. It has changed the way we perceive ourselves. So it means that when we are navigating this world, we are often, especially in the Western world, but not just here, it's a human thing. We are being People are making assumptions and ideas of one another based off the information that they have of what it means when somebody presents themselves like this or when somebody looks like this. And this is on many levels, from what you're wearing, which is like what the previous topic was about, and like how you put yourself together. But it also goes as deep as your skin color, your weight. We can go on. So when we understand and we go back to a place in society where we realize that beauty is power, but it isn't the power. Aesthetics, looks, like I said in my previous episode, the way you dress does equal the way you are addressed. Yet, like I was saying in that episode, it's all about your inner energy, right? And how you know yourself to be and how you choose to push that out and express that outwardly. Now, this is where it becomes interesting. When you know yourself and you know who you are, because I myself can relate to this, how much of it do you choose to express outwardly? For what reasons? How much do you not? And again, for what reasons? Because sometimes you may even feel that you do not need to put yourself out or present yourself in a certain way because you know yourself and you know who you are. But because of the contradictory world we live in, regardless of you knowing yourself and knowing who you are, other people will still assume to know you and know who you are based off of what you show them about yourself, right? So that's where the choice comes in how you present yourself. This topic, I think, is so important because, again, tying it back into the current climate that we're living in, it's very easy for people to get lost and to get confused, right? And to get things misconstrued. It is extremely important that we remember that you do not know somebody based off of their social media, how they look, their gender, how they present themselves. Yes, you may know certain things about them, or you may be able to assume, because it's all about your lens, right? So everything in life is colored from our own personal perspectives and lenses. So yes, based off of how somebody looks, you may be able to put something together in your mind, but at the end of the day, you don't really know who that person is or why they chose to present themselves the way that they do. And beyond that, the aspects of themselves that they cannot change, such as their weight, their race, their just general appearance, the face God gave them, etc. These are things that you cannot use as a measure for that person's personality because you do not know them, because you are not them. I think that it's sad that people assume your body shape or your face equals your personality, especially in a world where beauty is currency for women. Women tend to get boxed in, right? We get a lot of, it's such a contradictory world because it's like if you don't put yourself together, you don't do certain things, people can think this about you. But when you do put yourself together, you do take time into your appearance, you do care about how you look, then people also can assume that you are shallow, or that you are self-centered, or that you're vain, or maybe you're even rude because you think you look better than them. But this is again all coming from somebody else's outside and external perception. But it's important that we all, sorry, when your eyebrows just itching, it's important that we all take the time every day to really stop, right? And remember that we are all human, and that we do not know what we think we know just because we see something, especially for people that you don't personally know. I think this is where we've gotten to quite a sad, you know, place in society where certain thinking skills, cognitive thinking skills, are not being exercised anymore because of how quick our brains are moving and thinking, to the point where we are not even realizing how quickly we are assuming certain things, right? It's also difficult when this pressure is added onto people as a whole because of this world that we're living in, to fit into an identity that matches how you look, or to present yourself in a certain way because of what is happening around you. Because this only is in some ways further fueling this automatic assumption that's happening when we are now interacting with each other, whether that is through our phone screens, through content, or in person, in real life. And again, especially with people that we do not know. The reason why this topic ties in for me so much so to being a black swan, right, is because, again, black swans are always misread at first glance, misunderstood. Even the sight of a black swan on a lake full of white swans is somewhat startling. And even if you go into the actual definition of black swan, again, it's something unexpected. It's something unthought of, right? So to be a black swan is to be someone who people never expect. We're not who people think we are. We're not people's first assumptions of us, right? The depth that we carry, it contradicts society's surface level assumptions, especially of what it means, again, to be a human and to look like this or to come from this place. Your appearance in this life opens the door, but your authenticity, who you are, speaks volumes and is what fills the room at the end of the day. This is again what I covered in the previous topic about how you dress, because you can put on anything. Certain people put on the finest of things, like I said in that video, but it doesn't matter because of who they are. It's just like that saying that we've heard, somebody can be beautiful, but if their personality is ugly, if their mind is ugly, it makes them ugly, it makes them unattractive. And the same can be said in the opposite version, in the opposite way, right? That is the beauty of what it means to have this human experience. And that is something that we cannot take away from ourselves or from one another. So for me, as you may imagine, I have had many things assumed about me based on the way that I look. And even now, still, because of the society that we live in, I'm sure that people think certain things about me, or sometimes if I post certain things, people have certain ideas about me, which aren't really true to me as a person. And it's so sad, but it's so deep as to even a lot of men, not just men, but people in general, have this assumption now that if you are a mildly, moderately attractive woman and you present yourself on social media, depending on the niche that you're in, people assume that you may do explicit content, spicy content, right? That you may have that link in the bio. And why is that? Is that based off of what we are seeing other people are doing? Is that based off of what they think when they see you, or what they want to think, what they want to hope? But how true and how fair is that a reflection of you, right? Of any person. And that doesn't mean that that's a positive or negative thing. I'm just using that as an example because there's so many examples. An example can be given for men, right? Women can see a man dressed a certain type of way or have a certain height and automatically assume that he's going to be like this. But again, where is that coming from? What is that based off of? And in how many ways can we justify continuously looking at life in this way when by now I think we all know that you definitely cannot just look at somebody and know everything about them or know them, right? Especially if you've not had a conversation with them, especially if you've not lived a day in their life, you don't know them personally. These are the things that are tarnishing our society when we are starting to speak of how people are being idolized, celebrities, stars, right? The same people that are being put on a pedestal are also being bullied, right? Because of people's perception of them. How much of it do we know to be true? That's up to your own speculation. But at the end of the day, bringing it back to my own personal experience, I have learned to utilize the way that I look to benefit myself because I have realized that yes, people will think what they think about the way you look, but you also hold power in the way you choose to present yourself. Because for a long time, I was not very maybe aware inside. I was able to present myself, so it's not like I couldn't present myself in a certain type of way, but I did not connect it to what people perceived of me because it was sometimes a non-factor. Like, yes, I wanted to be considered fashionable, but whether or not you thought, you know, I'm attractive, that's not really my business, but it took me some time, especially as a woman, to realize that regardless of if you think that is your business or not, society and people will place that business onto you. They will make it your business. And if you know what I'm talking about, you know what I'm talking about. And most women, again, will know what I'm talking about, but also men, because I don't want women to think that we are the only ones that get judged based off the way that we look. it's different being a woman because of the currency that's placed on the way that you look. But men also get judged by society and their peers based on their looks, but just in a different way. Even if there isn't so much value placed upon it, people still notice, okay? And people still care. And people still assume and judge things based off what they see, right? So for me, ever since I was young, people always, like I said in my previous video, sometimes assumed that I was older or were surprised that I was the age that I was, perhaps because of my personality, because of my wisdom. I have had many circumstances where what I realize now, especially when it comes to dating sometimes or interactions with people who are romantically interested in me, is that because of the way that I looked, perhaps they thought that I was going to be a certain way inclined. And when people start to interact with me, they start to speak to me, and they realize that maybe what they thought I was going to be like is not the way that I'm like. Maybe the things that they thought I would place value upon is not what I place value upon. Maybe the way that I speak, even the way that I carry myself, is not what they would have assumed looking at me. It changes the dynamic, right? And it changes the way people interact with you, especially if their initial point of relativity to you was based on an assumption and based on these assumptions that you shatter by being who you are. This is the biggest reason why I've created this community called a Black Swan community, because I want everybody who relates to these topics that I bring up, but even what I've just said now about shattering people's perceptions of you, about just being different and knowing that you're different and owning that, and just being that regardless of that, whether or not that's something that you want or wanted to own. It simply is who you are. You simply stand out. Realize how powerful that is, and realize how much power comes from knowing that and then moving accordingly, right? Because for me, now I am so much more aware of the impact that I can have by looking a certain kind of way, but also being a certain kind of way. Looking a certain kind of way and being a way that is different than what people think because of the way that I look. And not being afraid of that, ashamed of that, intimidated by that, or worried about what people are thinking about that. That has no longer is a factor to me. It's no longer my business what people think, because I know who I am, and I know that majority of the time who I am is not who you think I am. So yeah, and especially when I was younger, like I said, and I can go into this maybe a bit more in a different kind of way, but when I was a teenager, I hit puberty at maybe around 15, 16. I was very voluptuous, more voluptuous than I even realized, and more voluptuous than I am now. But I had no, you could say I had like a body, not dysmorphia, but I just did not have an awareness of the way that I looked, right? And a lot of people would want to interact with me or approach me based off of the way that I looked. And for me, I did not understand this. I understood this slightly because they would mention these things to me about me being attractive or whatever. But for me, I was confused because I always I never looked at myself from how I look, right? I looked at myself and other people for how you are. And I'm thinking to myself, you don't know me. Like, you don't know, you don't know me. So what is it that you want? So to me, I was always weirded out and freaked out by people wanting to like interact with me. And I spent a lot of my teenage years, which I'm actually very grateful for, rejecting people and like telling people to get away from me and like stop talking to me because I did not understand the reasoning. And again, because I did not have that awareness of not only myself but of how much impact your appearance has on society, especially as a woman in some ways. Like the way that I understand it now, I did not understand it then because I was 15, 16, 17, and nobody really told me about these things, you know. I didn't have women around me who gave me that kind of understanding. So that's an example that I'm giving you, but that's also something that I'm showing you had its benefits in some ways because I did not move based off of, again, how I looked, because I did not care about how I looked. And that made me even more confusing to people that were coming across me. And it was kind of like a protection because people were coming into interaction with me expecting one thing, expecting one reaction, and getting a completely different kind of reaction, or a reaction that they could not quite understand or pinpoint. So for me, regardless of what people were telling me, I never really allowed that to dictate the way that I presented myself, my narrative, how I wanted to be perceived, because I did not place importance. And I won't say I still don't, because, you know, everything has its place, but I did not place importance on attractiveness in my earlier years. And when I did, it was because it was like a passion, like a hobby, an interest, but not because of society or wanting to garner a certain kind of response, right? So I feel like I kind of went off on a tangent there, but you know, this is a podcast, guys. Keep that in mind. We're chilling. I know you can't really tell because you can't see that much of my background, but this desk is messy right now. But we're chilling, and I will make more videos. I think I will do more like switched up backgrounds maybe, and we can make it more fun. But yeah, I say all of that to say your beauty, right? Referring back to my notes, your beauty is an accent. It is not the essence of who you are. It's very important to keep this in mind. And it's not just about beauty, it's about your appearance in general. But for my women as well, remember that you are not just who you look like and what people think about you based off of your looks, right? And the most powerful women in history have been multi-dimensional, and the most powerful women are multi-dimensional. Your body, and I stress this, I hope we are all listening, open your ears. A body is temporary. That doesn't mean don't look after yourself. That doesn't mean don't treat yourself right. If anything, honor and respect this vessel, this body, because it is temporary. However, your identity is evolving, right? And your character is timeless. And when you really look at it, right, and you really evaluate what I just said, we know that as the human body ages, right, the body deteriorates. At a certain point, the body stops producing certain hormones, certain things. It stops doing certain, not programs, but you know what I mean. Our body does certain things. And at a certain age, these things slow down. And at another age, these things stop. And in another age, these aspects of our body begin to deteriorate, right? The same can be said for the mind. However, we know and we see evidently that the mind, the character, the essence tends to outlive the body. That's why we can walk around and we see old people, right? And we don't think that they don't have a personality anymore. We we can see that a lot of them still express themselves even if their body is wasting away or their body is this way or that way, and we see pictures of them when they were younger and we say, "Oh wow." So what does that tell you? What's that really tell you? Because I think we forget that that is the only thing that remains. That is what truly matters. And that is where your real value lies. Yes, your body is important, but without you in your body as you are with a sound mind, right? And hopefully some other good aspects of you, but let's just say a sound mind. What are you? And I think that's an important question to ask yourself, because what will live on beyond you? And I don't think you ever even really hear this, even with the greatest of stars, like for example, Marilyn Monroe. This is how my brain works, guys. So I'm giving, this is you guys really seeing Q Talks' brain at work. Marilyn Monroe, as much as she has been known and recognized for her prowess, for her beauty, I don't know why I said prowess, for her beauty, right? For these things about her, her personality is the biggest thing that people always talk about when it comes to her. Yes, they talk about her beauty, but they talk about her personality, what made her so beautiful as well, and the way that she thought and the way that she operated as well. To give a male example, Muhammad Ali, he was a boxer, strong, but people don't just talk about his body. They talk about his mind, the things he did, the things he said, because at the end of the day, when you really think about it, people don't, when people are gone, and when we think about the people that are gone, and when we think about what you want to leave behind, people don't just talk about people's bodies. People don't say, "Oh yeah, Bob Marley had the best locks." Yeah, people like his dreadlocks, but they like what he was singing, the substance in his music, right? People, we don't talk about people's bodies and personalities. Yes, we do say, "Oh my, my grandma was beautiful," or a lot of people said that she was beautiful, but that's not the only thing that's ever said about someone. Imagine if that's the only thing ever said about you. "Oh yeah, she looked nice. He looked nice. He looked good." Hmm. Nothing more to report. So consider that in your day to day. Pour into yourself, pour into your character. My voice is starting to crack a bit, but yeah, pour into your character, yourself, your personality, because these are the aspects of yourself that shine through in your appearance, in how you present yourself, right? It's in transforming yourself, like I said in my previous video, that you start to transform the way that you look and the way you appear. So to close, and before we run out of memory here, um, please let your presence speak louder than your face and your fit, okay? For the new generation. Be known for your energy before you're known for your body, right? I think we can all hear that, because I think there is such pressure these days on the body, and there's so much focus on the body with all this content, and sometimes this content around fitness, which I think is great, it's beautiful. I love fitness content, but I can also see how it can be toxic to people because people start to focus on the wrong things. And again, every change starts in the character and the mindset. So even to change the way you look, you have to make that change up here. So that's why it's always important to pour into yourself so that you're operating in a way that you want to operate that's going to reflect on the outside, right? Lastly, your body is a home, right? Your personality is the soul. Okay? So, my beautiful black swans, remember that you are so much more than what people think about you, or even than what you think about you based off of how you look. And I'm gonna say it like that because to me it's like a joke almost. And it's not a joke. I'm not making it light because people can be mean. The world is mean. We're mean to ourselves, and there is so much unnecessary pain that we go through sometimes because of appearance, whether that's from race to just beauty standards to so many things, right? To societal standards. But that's why I'm here to remind you in this place that you can always call home and a safe space where you will not be judged based off of how you appear, that who you are is so much more than how you look, okay? And the more you believe in that, the more you will see the evidence and the beauty of that, okay, in your life. And that you will be proud and you will stand in your uniqueness. I love you guys. See you in the next video. Like, comment, subscribe. I haven't even said that in any of my videos, but you know. Like, comment, and subscribe if you like my content. Share it if you think it's worth sharing with the people around you, the people in your family, younger siblings, you know, people that you think could benefit from this topic. Anyone, you know, or save it for yourself for future reference when you need a reminder. But yeah, I love you so much, and I'll see you in the next one.